Hey everyone, Kevin here with Divinely Designed, and I have a mixed media project today. I was kind of in the mood to do something Halloweeny, and I wanted to kind of make a crown. That was my original inspiration, and I thought I would make the Pumpkin King. So I recorded most of my process, about 90% of it, and I've just sped it all up here. The entire project took about 4 hours in total, and I've sped this up to about 32 times faster here. So I'm using some fun foam to create the crown, and I was just measuring the circumference of the pumpkin so I could make the right size crown. And now I'm freehand drawing just a crown shape. Now I'm going to cut this out, and you can kind of see the shape of the crown, which I'll use this paper template on the fun foam to cut it out. Now I sort of free-handed it, and I just thought this was kind of the shape I wanted, but I did end up changing it as I progressed with the project. That second raised area, it sort of looks like a Christmas tree. I ended up getting rid of that. Well, not rid of it, but I got rid of the sort of the Christmas tree look of it and made it just much more sort of spiky. And it made some other small changes, I think, as I actually put the crown together. But just using an X-Acto blade to cut it out then after I drew the pattern on. And this was pretty easy. Fun foam's pretty easy to cut, especially if you have a nice sharp X-Acto blade. Now I'm using some 5-minute epoxy and some various molds to create some these are Baroque elements. The dark gray molds are Iron Orchid molds from Prima. This 5-minute epoxy is really kind of cool. It sets really quickly, and you can actually pull it out of the mold before it's fully set, and it's very soft. And you can mold it onto rounded shapes, and you can cut it with an X-Acto blade, and it's really easy to cut. Once it's fully cured, it's very much like hard plastic, right? And it's much harder to cut and things. But originally I was gluing some elements here with some white glue, but I did switch over to contact cement a little bit later on just to make sure things stuck on very well. And I'm just adding those little epoxy pieces to various parts of the crown to give it kind of a Baroque or very kind of complex look to it. Now I'm just adding a coat of black gesso to the styrofoam pumpkin. The styrofoam pumpkin's from I think either AC Moore or Michaels, and it was it was from Joann Fabrics, and it was less than $5, I think. But same for the crown, adding a little layer of black gesso because I'm going to be painting and using some Inca Gold later on. And then just I think I let this dry overnight after I used the first coat of black gesso here. So now I'm mixing up some acrylic paint just to paint the pumpkin. So I wanted a nice dark orange, and then later on I'm going to mix up a little lighter orange for sort of the insides of the mouth and eyes and nose to look to make it look like it's actually a cut pumpkin. This needed 2 coats. I didn't film the second coat, but it definitely needed 2 coats of orange. That styrofoam, even with a coating of gesso, sort of like sucked up the paint like a sponge. So I didn't get great coverage just with 1 coat, so it ended up needing 2. Here I'm using some Inca Gold, and I forget the actual gold color. It's the darker gold that Inca Gold has. And using my finger and just rubbing it on those epoxy pieces, letting just the highlights get the gold portion and leaving the black kind of there for some contrast. Now I couldn't get into all the spaces with my finger, so now I'm using a brush to get some spaces on the crown. But again, I'm leaving lots of black especially in the molded pieces to give it that contrast. I love the look of this after it's sort of all finished here. Now I'm using this darker gold right now. I'm going to switch in just a second here to a lighter gold color to do some highlights. And this really adds a lot of depth to the crown in general. I didn't film one piece of that, and I did use some Pearl X gold powder to give it a little bit of shimmer. Didn't really change the overall look too much, but did give it a nice little shimmer. Here I'm just adding some more sort of dimension to the pumpkin, adding some shadow into the sort of recesses of the pumpkin, and then I'm going to add some highlights to the top portion. So for this portion, I'm actually using some Prima waxes in copper and rose gold. Again, the recesses get the darker color, and then the bumped out portions get the lighter color. And I'm going to use it to also define the areas around the eyes and the nose and the mouth, and that really helped. And really like the overall look of the pumpkin here. I think it gave it a lot of sort of depth. And here was the finished project. I added some blue little fairy lights inside, so it looks really cool when the lights are out, but I really am kind of happy with the overall look. I think it looks really cool. The crown is super awesome. I added some epoxy pieces that I were sort of faux opals in the large portion up front and to the two side portions there. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, click that like button, and if you aren't subscribed, please click subscribe. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.